I grew up poor. And sometimes when you go on that journey of looking for a better life, challenges come your way. We can often go into being a victim of why me, why is this so hard? And the way to get out of that victim mentality for me was just starting to practice and say, hey, here's one thing that I'm grateful for.
We can manifest our dreams if we're willing to make the right sacrifices. And I think too many people are convinced that transcendental realization and a comfortable life will go together.
I think we forget that life itself is the biggest miracle of all. Most people are living life like this is burden, it's this hardship, like why did I get sent here? This is what intelligent change is here to do, is help you see the beauty of life.
Before we jump into this episode, I'd love to invite you to join this candid spiritual community to hear more conversations that will help you become happier, healthier, and more healed. All I want you to do is click on that subscribe button because I love your support. I love seeing all the comments pouring through, all the love pouring through, and we're just getting started. I can't wait to go on this journey with you, whether you're a spiritual seeker or you're just curious about the topic. And we really hope that our conversations will provide you food for thought and inspiration for your own spiritual journey. So join us for honest, candid discussions about spirituality for soul's sake.
For soul's sake, for soul's sake.
Hello and welcome back to For Soul's Sake, a podcast in which we bring you the best in wellness, in manifestation, in spirituality, and all things otherwise. Today I'm joined by an entrepreneur extraordinaire and a new friend of mine. We've never met before, but we are conversing on a topic unknown to both of us. We're going to see where this rolls. But he is an incredible dreamer, creator and entrepreneur, co-founder of Intelligent Change, which is a 5-minute journal which has sold 2 million units. 2 million units.
Plus.
That's insane.
It's probably way more.
Also the founder and creator of the Productivity Planner, which has sold 400,000 units worldwide. Brand symbolism, he's inspired by Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which will be interesting to get into. He features on Maslow's pyramid, representing the potential for human growth and fulfillment. That could be quite cool to get into. But also started off his business in Luxy hair, which is far removed from intelligent change in one sense. And I guess we can talk about entrepreneurship as well. So welcome everyone, Alex Ikonn. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much for having me.
Great honor and privilege. I've spoken with your ex-partner, Mimi. She's a big hit on the podcast. Everyone seemed to love her. And so I'm very keen to get into conversation with you. Tell me about business manifesting from Luxy hair to intelligent change. Tell me that journey and how that kind of went about.
Yeah, for sure. I think it all starts with a desire. You know, when we grow up, we have a certain instinct of where we want to be in life. And for myself, it was really about having that dream life that many of us are sold to by Hollywood, and having the means of financial abundance and freedom to travel the world and be able to live life on your own means. I grew up poor in Russia, and my parents then immigrated to Canada with a hope for a better life, like so many immigrants do. And sometimes when you go on that journey of looking for a better life, challenges come your way. And so for my parents, they very quickly divorced within actually not even a year of landing because of the challenges. And there I was with, I decided to stay with my mom. And
how old were you at the time?
I was around 10 years old. And be with her and my sister. And here I am, a woman not knowing that much English.
Wow.
Not having really worked too much to support 2 children in a country where she doesn't know the language. And it's a brand new land. And she did whatever she needed to survive. And so for myself, growing up at that time, and fairly challenging conditions, I had a dream to, especially back then, hip hop culture was really strong.
What years are we talking about?
So we moved in 97, and I think sort of like late 90s, early 2000s.
We're looking at Eminem.
Nas.
Dr. Dre, Nas.
Yeah. And then 50 Cent.
Yeah. I think we might be the same age.
Yeah, exactly. So, and so cars and money was really a big attraction. And so in a way, as I said, it starts with that desire, and that can be coming from a certain environment. And then you go down that path thinking this is the stuff that you want. And then fast forward, you get there, you create it, and you're living that life of abundance and money and traveling the world. And also
that was through that brand Luxy Hair.
And Luxy Hair, that was how
that exploded across the world.
Yeah, so we without really thinking we're going to become millionaires, we did. In the first few years of our mid-20s, we were very early on YouTube. So it's like 2010 is when we got on YouTube.
Wow.
And the funny thing is, there's a lot of, now it's like 2025, there's a lot of people who want to become creators, YouTubers. That's like the thing. And some people say it's too late. Back then, you would think it was already too late. And it wasn't. And that's what we did. So we created a business utilizing YouTube, understanding that social media is going to be one of the biggest platforms to be able to leverage and get attention to be able to then convert it into business. So we utilized YouTube to be able to do that. And that business very quickly grew to millions of subscribers, 500 million views from 2010 to 2016. And that's what really allowed that business to grow. But as I communicated, having achieved that dream,
what next?
We quickly realized that this whole money thing isn't enough. Right. And that's where intelligent change comes in, is understanding that when you're on this path of life, there's an inner voice that will tell you, hey, listen. And that can come through different ways. So for example, for my partner, Mimi at the time, she got quite depressed. So your body will be able to tell you signs of like, hey, you're not on your path. You think you're succeeding, and
externally it was all, yeah.
However, internally it was a mess.
Really.
And that is when it started very quickly. We went on this path of really creating intelligent change. And the 5-minute journal was really one of the first tools that we've brought to life of thinking this is something that we need in our own lives. So that product was not created with this idea that we're going to sell millions of units and make even more money. It was created because this is something that needs to exist. And this is something that we believe can help us on our journey as we're going through turmoil and challenges. Something as a spiritual tool that we need as a practice to help remind us of the good that exists in life.
Did you feel it was ever a responsibility that you never asked for but fell on your lap to utilize whatever, I don't know if you believe in God, but I'm a God believer, the supreme, the divine, whichever name you choose, universal truth, energy, placed upon your shoulders that responsibility of utilizing what had been given to you to support others? Or was it always a kind of a business transaction where, okay, we've got this, and now we know that this is what's going to help us in this internal struggle. Now let's leverage that to build another business. Or was it, how did the, because I know that at the heart of intelligent change is a philanthropic, a compassionate driving force. So how do you keep that alive when there's millions of dollars flying around?
Well, the initial creation was not, as I said, to make more millions and to sell millions of copies. It started with the idea of, hey, we just want this to exist. And sometimes, as you said, it can be through a creator, to the divine, that we're able to be the channel for this format. Because if you think about it, with the 5-minute journal, it pretty much created this whole guided journaling movement. The 5-minute journal was one of the first guided prompt-based journals that has set off. Now there's so many influencers who have journals, including Stephen Bartlett and everybody else.
Make one on Canva. Yeah.
And however, at the time, it didn't exist. And the format that we've created of this simple format has now been, reiterated on so many times. But in a way, we've created that first format.
Incredible.
And I do believe that I don't take credit like, hey, it's me who created it. Because all we're doing here on this planet is being able to channel that divine in whatever ways. And if it can help other people on this journey, and if we can use ourselves to be that vessel and vehicle to be able to help other people and ourselves, why not?
Yeah.
So for sure, there's some sort of kind of power working alongside.
Something in the background. You and Mimi both strike me as people that are very attentive and conscious about the needs, interests, and concerns of people. And I'm always intrigued by people like that, because I feel like you are, not mystically, but somehow or other, you've been gifted the consciousness and intelligence to be able to see what the world needs right now. And that's why, I mean, this might be completely off and you might be like, no, Radhika, you're smoking something interesting right now. But just tell me, where do you see humanity's needs, interests, and concerns right now? Where do you feel people are in need of upliftment? Or where do you think pop culture is going? Or what are the concerns of people at the moment?
Wow. All right, big question.
Yeah,
I love it. No,
for soul's sake.
I love this. As yourself or anybody watching or listening to this may feel, we're going through a massive transformation.
Oh yeah.
This is probably the biggest one yet. And it's funny how we, for myself, I remember when the first iPhone came out, and when you held that device, you felt it was something different.
Yeah.
That's going to transform how we interact with this world. Now with AI coming online and the way we interact with this technology, you're like, whoa, this is like
new ball game.
A whole new ball game, how it works. And this is super intelligence that is now part of our lives. And so nowadays, there's going to be a huge shift of how do we find our purpose and meaning in our lives.
Yeah.
And this is why more and more as the years go by, I realize how important the work that we're doing with intelligent change for this transition and transformation in humanity. Because as you mentioned in the intro, we were very inspired by Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Because on our own journey, what happened to us, as we were talking earlier, once we've achieved that state of, hey, we don't need to work, and we can have most of the things that we want, what am I actually here to do? Am I here to consume the things that people told me to buy? Deep in our soul, like, this is kind of empty. This doesn't feel like this is my purpose, is to like buy Nike and whiskey that Jay-Z and Beyonce is selling. Like, that's not what I'm here to do. And that doesn't really bring me fulfillment. So what am I here to do on this planet? And why am I here? So it's these existential questions. So now with this technology, as it will free us up, it will get a lot more people asking more of these existential questions. And that's what Maslow's hierarchy of needs really communicates, is that once you meet some of your needs, safety needs, psychological needs, love and esteem needs, at the top, you'll be faced with this need for self-actualization.
Self-actualization.
Yeah.
Tell me more about that.
So self-actualization is all about, what are you here to do? What is your soul? Why did you come here? What are you here to do? What are you here to either express or experience on this journey of life? And later on in Maslow's years, he also recognized that there's something beyond just self-actualization. Because I think a lot of times we're self-actualizing a lot. We're thinking about ourselves. However, at the very top of Maslow's hierarchy of needs is actually transcendence. And to be able to transcend is also then be able to go beyond the self and to start thinking about others. How can you serve? And that's, if you look at a lot of the spiritual practices, it's this whole cycle that we go through.
Self, source, service. Like understanding who am I beyond all the layers and coverings and externals. Who is divinity? Is there divinity? Or it could be the other way around, service first and then divinity. But let's go in that order that I just spoke. Okay, you go with source, trying to find out what is that supreme. And once you understand that supreme, it comes to this point of service and trying to find out, how do I serve the world? Now I know this. Now I've got a greater understanding, a greater consciousness. What do I do with it? And I think I think there's too many people trying to fix the fundaments of the needs that you mentioned, Maslow's hierarchy of needs. I understand in rudiments, the model. There's so many people stuck on just fight and flight and eat, sleep, mate, repeat. They're just trying to figure that out. That it's hard to. If someone's watching this right now and is stuck in the cycle of just trying to survive, what would be 1, 2, 3 things that you would share with that person to try and get them to the next point in Maslow's hierarchy of needs?
Of course. So I was on that same journey.
Right. Most people are.
And exactly. Because I think oftentimes when we hear others speak, and especially myself, I would say when most people look at me, it's like, hey, privileged white male, you've had everything easy in your life.
Mm-hmm.
However, if you go deeper in my backstory, as I quickly kind of shared there, but it goes way deeper, I had that dark night of the soul where once my parents immigrated from ages of 10 to 17, it was a very dark period of my life. And I didn't grow up privileged. There was a lot of things that I had to overcome. And when there's challenges thrown your way by life, we can often go into being a victim of why me, why is this so hard? And you start turning on this whole experience of life, which is actually very magical. But if you start being in the dark and seeing how challenging life is, then you're like, well, life is suffering. It's so hard. And it's, you start blaming people. It's the rich people. It's the governments. It's the schools.
We become cynical.
Yeah, and you become cynical and you start being a victim. And I was a victim.
Right.
And I was in that whole fight, flight. I'm against the world. And for me, to be able to escape that cycle, first and foremost, I had to take responsibility for my life. And that came as one time as in that moment of being told a victim, coming back from school, knowing I'm coming back to an empty house where, my mother's not there because she's working a minimum wage job, just trying to provide for us. And I'm going to maybe have a pasta, maybe with some butter if I'm lucky, maybe a can of tuna. That's a good day. And I'm like, why is my life so poor? And I started going into this victim mentality of blaming everybody and being angry, especially as a teenager. But then I understood, as this something came from above, no one cares about you. So even more victimhood, like it's you against the world. However, in that frame of mind of that, hey, there's nobody coming to save me, I understood I'm the only one responsible for my life. I'm the only one who can change my life. So it's up to me. No one's coming to save me. Okay, so if you want to make something out of your life, it's up to you. And the moment I took that responsibility for my life, that's when things started to change. And the next thing, which connects into why we've created the 5-minute journal, the practice I was shown is the practice of appreciation, gratitude. And the way to get out of that victim mentality for me was just starting to practice and and say, hey, here's one thing that I'm grateful for. When you think like you have nothing to be grateful for, just start with like one thing. And day by day, as I started compounding, my mental frame started to change.
How interesting.
I started to see opportunities instead of challenges, and started to see how abundant and beautiful life is versus how ugly and unsafe it is. So for me, I think this is the opportunity that we all have, is to, as you said, go from more of a cynic to become somebody who sees miracles in the everyday. And it's all possible to us. And everything that I've been able to create has been because of this mindset. There's no way I'll be able to live the life that I live now if I had a more cynical victim mindset. I just don't think it's possible.
Wow. So someone watching this right now that is in a cycle of eat, sleep, mate, repeat, eat, sleep, defend, whatever it is, you would say to them to start by accepting that, yes, the world is hard, but also, yes, there's something you can do about it. And to find your piece of the contribution pie, whatever that may be. I think that most people are, deep down, they know that they can find happiness if they are to sacrifice a few of the basic human things like, sleeping comfortably and, eating comfortably, etc. We can sacrifice to a point where we are, how do I say this best? That we can manifest our dreams if we're willing to make the right sacrifices. When we're stuck in a cycle of having the same experiences again and again and again, most people who have achieved something in life know that you have to do something out of the ordinary, live a life less ordinary to be able to achieve something great. But how does someone who's stuck in that kind of rut of just living the same life day in, day out, and you're maybe watching this right now feeling like that, but you know deep down you're meant for something more. You know deep down that you're meant for something great in your life. How does one enter this life less ordinary? What does one have to do? What's the first step into that door?
I think you mentioned it. Actually, can I
search
something on your phone?
Of course you can.
Open up your phone. I'm going to search something. I'll read something out loud.
Yeah, go for it.
It just came to me, and this is like improv. So, one of my favorite books of all time is Road Less Traveled.
Yep.
And let me try to bring this up. Okay. So Road Less Traveled by M. Scott Peck.
Mm-hmm.
And this is how the book starts. Life is difficult. This is the great truth. One of the greatest truths. It is a great truth because once we truly see this truth, we transcend it. Once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. Because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. Most do not fully see this truth that life is difficult. Instead, they moan more or less incessantly, noisily, subtly about the enormity of their problems, the burdens, their difficulties, as if life were generally easy, as if life should be easy. They voice their belief noisily or subtly that their difficulties represent a unique kind of affliction that should not be, and that has somehow been especially visited upon them, or else upon their families, their tribe, their class, their nation, their race, or even their species, and not upon others. I know about this moaning because I have done my own share. Life is a series of problems. Do we want to moan about them or solve them? Do we want to teach our children to solve them? Discipline is the basic set of tools that we require to solve life's problems. Without discipline, we can solve nothing. With only some discipline, we can solve only some problems. With total discipline, we can solve all problems. And it keeps going. But as you said,
incredible.
First acceptance that of the difficulty. Hey, you're not gifted. We all have a certain amount of time. And for me, that was my transcendence, was accepting the difficulty of life and be like, hey, okay, what do I make out of it?
Right.
And I remember one of my friends once told me, and it's true, we all start at different points in the mountain, but we still have to climb that mountain. Some do get the easy route.
Yeah.
And some get the route that they're gonna die, and it's difficult. And you have to also accept the route you've been dealt. So even so for myself, I had some privileges, but there were some also challenges. How do I work with what I have and make the best of it?
Yeah, when you were reading, something popped out, and while you were just speaking just now, it's a quote that goes, "The pain of discipline is uncomfortable." So even when you accept life is hard, that you accept there has to be some discipline. There's something that was written in that passage about total discipline. The pain of that discipline is uncomfortable, but the pain of regret, of not having tried, that's unbearable. And I think too many of us, myself included many of the time, for example, something that I'm really clear about in my 2025 is I need to focus on my health. I'm traveling a lot and I'm eating a lot of different interesting foods, vegetarian, vegan, of course, but it's having an effect on my body. And therefore, I know that pain of discipline is going to be required. And I've started, but it's difficult because like yesterday, for example, I went to sleep and I'm right now on a strict diet and I'm eating only twice a day. And I went to sleep, and for the first time in years that I can remember, I went to sleep hungry. And I lay in bed with my stomach rumbling. I was like, this pain is uncomfortable. It's uncomfortable. I can't, I don't live for this. I've got abundance in my life enough to go downstairs and eat something, no problem. But yet I closed my eyes and said, no, this is the pain of discipline. I have to kind of get through it. And accepting that it's not going to be easy. And everything that's been successful in my life has come through the pain of certain disciplines. And applying that pain of discipline has been, accepting that pain of discipline has been a big key for me in all aspects, even in my spiritual practice. Like with me and chanting, people think it comes really easy. And mantra, he's always like in cloud nine and, he's always floating. No, sometimes I'm in front of thousands of people and my mind is thinking about food or thinking about my bed or thinking about, what I'm going to do tomorrow. No, that's the mind. But it's the pain of discipline of then going, okay, no, come on, bring the mind back. Focus here and now. Hear the next mantra, chant with devotion and encourage others to do so. It's a pain of discipline that I have to go through. I think everything requires an acceptance that it's not going to be easy. And I think too many people are convinced that transcendental realization and a comfortable life will go together.
It could.
Could it?
So I think and Mimi and I were talking about this on a walk today.
All right.
Something that I'm realizing is that life can be full of miracles. And in some ways, when people look at us, and even today I was reading, one of these Instagram posts about like, hey, the reality of entrepreneurship and like how it's like eating glass and it's so difficult.
Initially. Or not always, is what you're saying?
Not always.
Really?
I think, for us, even in full honesty, sometimes I feel guilty saying it. It did feel easy and effortless.
Maybe meant to be.
Of course, we still put in long days, nights, hard work. But when you're aligned with your mission and purpose, it doesn't feel difficult. You're excited.
Oh, on the whole, I agree with you. On the whole, for sure. On the minute level, I might disagree. On the micro level, maybe I disagree.
Well, one of the questions I think I'm trying to ask myself now,
go on.
And even to my team, how would this look like if it was easy? Because oftentimes we also bring in more difficulty.
Profound. That's profound. Yeah.
Into our lives because so when I say, when I read the passage, accepting that life is difficult, that doesn't mean expecting it to be difficult. You're accepting that it's difficult
rather than expecting.
I'm not setting expectations that my life is going to be difficult. I'm accepting that, yes, life is difficult. There's challenges. How do I transcend that understanding because that's what he says in that passage at the beginning. once you are aware and conscious that it's difficult, you actually transcend it. Because then you're able to navigate, because you have that expectation. There was an experiment that I saw. It was a pretty brutal experiment they did to these mice, where they put mouse in a jar of water, and they'll see how long they would try to swim in this round jar until they drown. And on average, it took mice about 15 minutes to drown.
Okay.
And they'll just give up and drown. However, they changed up the experiment and they said, okay, what we're going to do is, because we know it takes about 15 minutes, they drown then. So what we're going to do is right before they're going to give up, we're going to take them out of the water, dry them off, and then put them back in.
Oh, wow. Okay, that's fascinating.
So how long do you think?
Although I don't advocate for it, but yeah.
But how long do you think they lasted? Like I said before, it was like 15 minutes on
20
average.
minutes? 20 minutes?
I believe it was something like crazy. It was like hours.
Really?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Because they would just keep doing that. They would like take them out, put them back in, take them out, put them back in, with giving them that hope that they can keep going. And all of a sudden, they are able to get more power than they ever had before, because they're like, hey, I can get potentially saved. So it was, of course, it's not saying that the mice were aware of the difficulties, but sometimes when we're aware or conscious, yes, this is going to be difficult, but it can get easier, or there's something more rewarding in the end, we're going to be willing to go way further than we have done before. And so those are just like some ways to think about how we're capable of so much more than we think we are. And a simple exercise as well that I loved, one of my favorite authors and speakers is Seth Godin. And you'll say this: raise your hand. Raise your hand as high as possible. Higher. Why didn't she raise it higher?
Because I knew more was about to come subconsciously.
Yeah, so these are like these little things. We as humans, we don't go full out. We don't give our full effort. And we usually also play small. And so it's the same thing that what I'm trying to get to is, if you reverse it, I believe the same thing can be said for, it can actually be easy and you can achieve a lot. So in fact, we many times can actually make our lives a lot harder than it has to be. If you just kind of reverse those positions and put those into place.
I agree with the mindset. The practicality, I'm not so convinced by.
Why not? I'm questioning this to myself now too. Why does it have to be difficult? Meaning, I accept the difficulties. When difficulties come in my way, I'm like, oh my God, why is it being so difficult? I accept when they come. But what I try to prime and position my life to now, that it can be easy. Because I've experienced it before.
Yeah.
And
what if it were easy?
Yeah, what if it were easy? Because the thing that I was realized recently is, last year, our company level financially was one of the worst years.
Okay.
The worst year. And that was the year where I did all the difficult stuff. I hired all the people. I got paying people a lot of money and have all these people with experience who should know way more than me. Worst year ever. I'm like, this makes no sense.
Yeah.
I'm making my life more difficult. I'm working harder than I ever had. It didn't actually deliver me the results that I want. So now I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go back to channeling how I actually navigate when I built my previous business or this business, where it can be easy. Like when we sold our previous business, it was easy. Like, think about it. We both our businesses now, it's not the first time we built an 8-figure plus business. This is the second time. I've done it before, and we sold that business. And I can tell you, it was fairly easy. Like, as many of us people know who follow us, we travel a lot, have a beautiful lifestyle. Anyone who hangs out with me is like, Alex has no care in the world. He's really easygoing. And that is usually when I actually achieve my most. When I'm stressing out, when I'm trying to do all these busy things, that's actually when things are not flowing. So, of course, I'm not saying it works for everybody.
I can understand what you're saying.
However, for myself, personally, I experience the more abundance is when I actually flow, when I go into it, when I'm not trying to force things to happen. And many times, like, and that's when people are like, hey, I work the hardest. I know many people who work way harder than me.
Yeah. People that are working like shifts in fast food chains.
Amazon, you know?
Yeah,
like,
they're working way harder than... Yeah.
You know,
results don't make
Deliveroo, like drivers. Like,
I agree with the premise that endeavor doesn't equal result. I agree with that. I just really am considering this thing. What if it were easy? I'm going to have to sit with this for like 10 minutes, people. What if it were easy? And I do get it. Like, you know, I'm just trying to reflect on all the things that have gone well in my life. And it is because I've not been focused on the hardship. I've accepted the hardship, but I've not focused on, it's so hard. So no, okay, that is the difficulty. Park it, put it to one side. And it's I like this kind of, it's almost a sutra. It's what if it were easy? I think it's something that maybe if you're inspired by that collection of words, just sit with it for a little while and think about the problems in your life, the difficulties in your life, the frustrations, but also the dream. And ask yourself the question, what if it were easy? What would that look like? Profound. Intelligent change and the future of it. I know that you have got incredible different products around it and also gatherings that happen around this brand. What do you see as the future of it? Is it something you want to sell off? Is it something you want to grow? Is it something that we can maybe edit out of this podcast? You can tell me.
Yeah. I didn't finish my point that we're speaking about. Where is humanity going to? Yeah. And that's where I'll connect intelligent change.
Let's go.
With intelligent change, like I said, having sold my previous business, I'm building this business with no plan to sell.
Okay.
Because as I said, one of our core missions of the business is to help people self-actualize on their journey through life. So I feel very blessed and grateful to have found something that I'm not trying to exit. And in my previous business, that's what I was doing. And the reason I was doing that is because I was not actually fulfilled. In reality, that business, I could have made way more money sticking to that business. But in my heart, I felt this is not what I'm here to do. Yeah. I'm not here to sell hair extensions.
Right.
That is not my path. This is not my dharma. This is not what I'm here to do. And once I started listening to my soul, the universe then conspires and gives you these opportunities. As you said, like the 5-minute journal idea came to me as a way to channel that idea and bring it to this earth, because I had this difficulty. I used this practice myself of practicing gratitude and help. That was what helped me create the first abundance in my life. And then on that path, I would say I lost the way. I forgot the importance of practicing gratitude and appreciation every day. Created that tool. And now in this stage of life, I think about, how come there's no companies as big as Apple that are there to help people on their journey through life? Like we have all these, technology, consumer goods, but there's no companies really helping to serve people like, hey, you're on this journey of life. Let's help guide you to make sure you have the best experience possible, because this is one of the most magical experiences ever. Most people are living life like this is burden, it's this hardship, like why did I get sent here? You got sent here? This is the greatest experience ever. This is the greatest drug. This is the best trip you can have. And most of us are just sleepwalking to death when you were a child, you're just pumped. You can see, if you look at small children, they're all like on a psychedelic experience. They're just like, they're high.
Yeah.
Because they're new to this. They're like, whoa, like there's so much stimulation. This is crazy. They're just like pumped. And
It's
then,
true.
and as you grow older, the difficulties start building people up, and people forget.
And the dreams fade.
Dreams fade. What you're actually here for, right? Schools, society, destroy. Like, hey, don't believe in your dreams. Don't go after it. You're gonna get screwed. All these things. So it's this society telling you that, hey, it can be possible.
Yeah.
And here I am, on this podcast, we're talking about, hey, what if it could be easy? What if miracles can happen? Why not? I think we forget that life itself is the biggest miracle of all.
Yeah.
They're like, you start being cynical about things, but like, you exist.
Yeah.
We don't even know how powerful the force is that here we are, 8 billion of us, plus I don't know how many other billions of species that are conscious and alive, including animals and plants and everything around us. It's miraculous.
It's miraculous for sure.
And with that, this is what intelligent change is here to do. Is help you see the beauty of life.
Wow.
And so one of our recent products that we've launched is called the Life Designer. It's to help people design their life and create the life that you're here to experience. Because once you become more aware and conscious and bring that intention into your life, to like, hey, what kind of life do I want to live? And see it as a game, then you're able to transform. Doesn't mean it's going to happen right away. You'll be faced with challenges. But as I've seen on my own journey, as you start waking up, and you may be, if you're listening now to this point on this podcast, maybe this message is for you. That you are also the creator. You're part of the creator. You're able to create things in this world. I love the Steve Jobs quote of everything that you see around you has been created by somebody else, no more smarter than you. But they were able to channel that message that came to them into this reality. And this is why you have to get quiet with yourself and listen to, what's coming with you of what potentially you're here to serve. And the reason you may be feeling down, depressed, is that you're not actually aligned with your soul purpose and mission, what you're here to do. Once you're able to align that, you're going to be pumped, because then life becomes a miracle. You become a creator, not just a consumer.
I feel you on that.
You start actually playing, interacting with life. And you also start seeing the serendipity and how then life starts working in your favor. Even the challenges. As you know, you had Mimi, my previous partner, on your podcast. We were married together for 16 years. One thing I was certain in my life was my marriage. Whatever people saw on social media, I would say our relationship was even better. Beautiful, peaceful, loving. And boom, she decides to leave. Of course it's a shock. Did I want it to end? No. I was in it for life, till death do us part. That was me. And so it took me time to process and to accept, once again, the difficulty that sometimes life will serve you. But then choosing to see that life is happening for me, not to me. Right? Again, life is happening for me, not to me. Okay, so what is this teaching me? Where is life trying to take me? And once again, you accept the difficulties of life and you're able to navigate them. Then certain truths come out. Like, as I said, Mimi and I were on a walk right before this podcast. We still have a beautiful, loving relationship. For some people, it's hard to understand. I love and accept her, and she loves and accepts me. We're able to transcend our relationship, not just to be in this romantic way. And in fact, then life can lead me potentially towards somebody who is more aligned with me and my potentially next chapter in life. And this is the whole cycle of life and how it goes. And so with intelligent change, we want to be able to, we currently create, I mean, we want to create more products and experiences to help you navigate this journey of life.
There's some podcasts where I have to really do a lot of work to draw out truths from the person. And this is one where I have happily, and I mean, I'm very honest and truthful when it comes to guests, happily sat back and absorbed. Because I think whether it's through karma and the life that God has gifted you, you've been able to extract a lot of spiritual truths from it. And as you were kind of speaking, there were a lot of verses popping on my head. Ding, 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 ding. I was like, oh my God, how is it clicking all these? I couldn't interrupt, but I was like, no, let it flow. Because as you spoke just then, a lot of things which I think a lot of people have to hear came out. The only piece that I would be really intrigued by is you spoke self-actualization. And my understanding of that is manifesting things, actualizing ideas, making things a reality. And that relates to one's svadharma. You mentioned the word dharma. And it's understood in the Bhagavad Gita there are 2 verses which are repeated twice. One set of verses is about thinking of God, man mana bhava mad bhakto, and the second set of verses is on dharma. And I mean, we all understand when something's repeated twice in a holy book, I mean, it means there must be something important about it. So the second set of verses on dharma, the first of which, there's 2 types of dharma. The first of which you've touched on in beauty. I mean, really, like it was incredible to see you in a flow state and speak about it just now. That svadharma is your worldly duty. How do you manifest things in this world? The second dharma is sanatan dharma, your eternal duty. And I think that a lot of people have to find their authentic path when it comes to their svadharma, their worldly duty. How do you navigate this world? What is your responsibility? What is your duty? Who are you? Who are your birds of a feather? Who is your tribe, etc.? Your worldly duty. But the question then I want to ask you, and maybe this could get too woo-woo for you and say, no, I'm out, Radhika, like, cut me out from here. But what I want to ask you is, what about when it comes to your sanatan dharma, your eternal? Who are you when everything that is not you is taken away? Who is that spirit soul? Or what is that spirit soul? Or what is the eternal? What do you do for eternity?
The way I see it, we're one. We are the creator, or God, or whatever you want to see. And this is what the experience of life is in that unity and power of God or universe, whatever that based on your religion or where you believe is the greater power. You are it. We are it. And once you are the greater power and you're the all powerful, it's kind of boring. It's like, okay, like I'm the creator. And we then get split up into trillions, whatever, gajillions. We can't even comprehend to the amount of separation that the creator goes through to then allow us to experience the different dimensions of experience in different ways. And you know, Mimi and I were speaking, our daughter, she's 8, and she has some profound existential thoughts before she goes to sleep. And
sleep time is always the time. Kids always have these profound thoughts.
It's not just for kids, it's for all of us. Like when we wake up and we go to sleep, we're the closest to that spiritual state.
Dream state,
Dream state, spiritual state. And she was saying, Mama, you know, I want to remember my previous lives. Why do we forget? And if we forget the previous lives, that means we're going to forget this life. It's like, whoa. she's 8.
Damn.
And so this whole experience of life is us in a way experiencing ourselves and be able to have this experience and be able to learn and see different dimensions. And that is why another thing that I've learned from myself is there is no right and wrong. We, of course, in this world, be like, oh my God, that is evil, that is bad, but it's all perfect. And it's all there to help show us different sides. Otherwise, there wouldn't be this experience. And so for me, it's, as I said, is really understanding more and more beyond everything. We're just here to experience. So of course, yes, the publishing books, creating podcasts, living this life is beautiful, and enjoy this experience. I think oftentimes also what I find some spiritual people, they're trying to escape the experience of life. And I'm like, what are you trying to escape from? The work is here. It's in the day-to-day. It's not in your meditation. You can do that for your groundness to help you navigate through life, because of course there's difficulty here. However, the real work is in the interaction. It was with families, in the relationships, is in building. It's not about running away. And there's that beauty of the chaos of life. There's so many dimensions here. And that's what we're here for, is to have this experience as God itself through different things, through different people. And it's exciting. To me, it gets more and more exciting actually as I get older. I start seeing just how perfect everything is.
I love it. Should we do some quick fire rounds to close off?
Yeah, let's do it. Yeah.
All right.
I know we can talk for hours.
I mean, I could do this for another 2.
Yeah, we can go some rabbit holes.
That was exactly what I was about to, and I was like, no, we haven't got the time. All right, let's go. Best advice you've ever received?
Practice gratitude.
Worst advice you've ever received?
Go to school.
Yep, I feel that deep in my heart. Something special about your relationship with intelligent change?
Trust.
Tell me a little bit more.
Trust the process.
Trust
Go
the
with
process.
it.
Something people misunderstand about you?
That I'm privileged and I've always had it easy.
Is that something you're trying to prove wrong to others?
No, I think there's nothing to prove. I think something to show that you don't have to carry the weight and heaviness, even if you've gone through a lot.
Right.
Because a lot of times people want to show, like, look how much I suffer, look how hard it was.
Yeah.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I've went through a
value
lot.
that, yeah.
But you can also bring the light.
Right.
And us oftentimes, I think, something we can appreciate in a lot of, spiritual teachers and leaders, they carry a lot. They've went through a lot. But yet they're able to laugh and feel and just have fun.
The experience of life.
Yeah.
If you could create one law that everyone had to follow, what would it be?
Practice gratitude. Or just one thing a day. One thing a day you can be grateful for.
Write it down right now. Put it in the comment section right now. What are you grateful for right now?
Yeah.
Alex, been a privilege, an honor.
Thank you so much.
Grateful to get to know you.
Yeah, you too. This is just the beginning.
I think so. We can go some serious rabbit holes going down here. But I was like, I don't know how much time we got.
Yeah, we can do round 2, like 3 hours.
Let's go.
Just go deep.
But I feel like we can do it in front of a room of live people. Then we can really go down a rabbit hole.
We can do Q&A, take questions.
Yeah.
Make it a collaborative thing.
Yeah, I was going to fully go down the whole double advocate route with you on the whole oneness of God, but I thought I'd pause there and leave it for round 2.
For sure. I'd love to. Yeah.
Let's go. Guys, thank you all so much for being here for this episode of For Soul's Sake. If you enjoyed it, rewind it, listen to it again. Entertainment doesn't have to happen once. Transformation and education can repeat it. So by all means, you have my permission to go back and listen to it again. Rewind it, share it with a friend. And I hope you enjoyed this episode with Alex. If you want to know more, go and check out Intelligent Change. Go and check out all the things that Alex Ikonn's doing on social media. And I look forward to seeing you on the next episode for Soul's Sake. Peace. If you love this episode, you'll love my interview with Mimi Ikonn on mindfulness to manifestation. Check it out.
So I had this panic attack and I thought I was dying. So I go to my teacher and I'm like, I think I'm having a heart attack. Like, I'm so scared. And he's like, well, if you do, we'll call 911. This is back in Toronto. I was living in Toronto at the time. He's like, Mimi, you cannot run away from yourself. It's a panic attack, most likely. Like, now go back into meditation and sit through it and watch it. Any emotional reaction is like a storm. Like, it has a beginning, a middle, and an end.